At times, something small can strike you in the most unexpected of ways. Today, I'm of course referring to one of several campaigns of 1998's Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast, a game I've made an entire longer essay piece about in the past, but necessarily had to gloss over this particular topic so I could work on something more in service to the game's overall and cumulative impact upon me. Make no mistake though, there are worthwhile individual components of this game worth discussing on their own, removed from the greater experience itself, and this is in no small part thanks to a truly fascinating character study in video game form, the story mode of one E-102 Gamma. Gamma is a robot you can play as in Sonic Adventure. More specifically, he's one of the E-100 series created by series antagonist Dr. Eggman, created for the purpose of acting as active muscle and guards of one of this game's central story locations, the Egg Carrier. Though Gamma's narrative on its own is largely disconnected from the larger plot of the game at hand, similar to that of Amy Rose or Big the Cat, Gamma's story also soars in one crucial and memorable way, and that's in its ability to have crafted a resonant and memorable emotional impact of its own. The story barely lasts over an hour of playtime, particularly for those experienced enough with the game to make short work of its connecting overworld segments, and yet even 22 years later, it has, crucially speaking, stuck with me. But why is that? Why is it that the story of a lone Eggman robot in a dated, janky game with its fair share of imperfections and hiccups has managed to reserve a spot in my home, my head, and my heart for the better part of 2 decades? Well, friends, that's exactly what I want to discuss with you all today. In this, the first of what I hope to be many future short-form essay-like videos intended to stave off the wait for larger content yet to come that I'm still in the midst of preparing. Listen, I promise I'm working on it. It's just a lot of work. We're going to analyze what exactly makes the short, frantic, and fun campaign of Sonic Adventure's E-102 Gamma so memorable, important, and somehow even heartbreaking. Let's do this. Gamma's story starts in the base of Dr. Eggman. The robot is awakened for his first training mission before then facing off in a test match against his predecessor E-101 Beta. From the moment Gamma is activated, he behaves in the way one would come to expect from an Eggman robot, which is to say he is unquestioningly loyal and doesn't seem at first to have much personality of his own. Eggman even says that he doesn't really expect much from Gamma to begin with. Unexpectedly, however, Gamma wins the fight with Beta and is given permission to board the Egg Carrier. Insistent on coming along anyway, Beta is granted special permission. Later on, Eggman commands the E-Series on board the Egg Carrier to locate and capture Froggy, who has swallowed a Chaos Emerald and is in possession of Chaos's tail. Gamma proceeds to locate Froggy in Emerald Coast near Station Square, wherein he captures the amphibian and returns it successfully. The other E-Series robots, E-103 Delta, E-104 Epsilon, and E-105 Zeta, have all brought frogs that are different from the specified target and are chewed out for their trouble. However, Gamma is highly praised for returning the correct one, whereupon he witnesses a somewhat horrific series of sights in rapid succession. These will become cornerstones of Gamma's character. Seeing his fellow E-Series coldly abandoned and dismissed from the Egg Carrier for their failure, Gamma makes prolonged eye contact with one and seems to be deeply affected by the sight of it. Sent afterwards to retrieve a bird being protected in the jail by Amy Rose, he first wanders by mistake into an adjacent room and sees Beta, who was previously said to be allowed on board, being harshly scrapped and remodeled for revising purposes. Seemingly deeply troubled at the mere notion of this, and the fact that his master is doing it, Gamma exits the room and simply announces that he must have entered the wrong one, before proceeding to coax the bird from Amy's possession. Unsurprisingly, Amy is not willing to give the bird up, not trusting what will happen to it under Eggman's orders. Though Gamma tries for a while to convince her, she ultimately stubbornly refuses him at every turn before asking what exactly Gamma wants with it. Only knowing the orders he's been given and nothing else, Gamma responds honestly that he doesn't know, to which Amy is confused. Gamma similarly becomes confused, asking her why she would go through so much trouble to help something she knows nothing about, to which she responds that she feels bad for him because Eggman must not go to the trouble of teaching his creations about kindness or the value of acts of selflessness. Confronted yet again by a pair of fixated eyes on his own, this time from the bird, Gamma seems to have some kind of epiphany and releases Amy from her cell. When asked why he's doing this, he simply responds that the ship is dangerous and that she should leave to preserve herself and the bird's safety. Amy accepts the gesture, responding that if she and Gamma are to meet again, it will no longer be as enemies, but as friends. Emerging to the ship's rear deck after a command from Eggman, Gamma is tasked with fighting Sonic, who's shown up to put a stop to Eggman's plans and rescue Amy. Though the two fight rather fiercely with each other for a while, they're ultimately stopped before delivering a final blow on either party by Amy, who intervenes by standing in the middle of them. Though Sonic initially demands to be let through, Amy refuses, stating that Gamma helped her and isn't like other Eggman robots, to which Sonic concedes that despite not knowing the full circumstances, she must have her reasons for believing in him and gives up the fight. Similarly, Amy begs Gamma not to continue either, stating that he's not like that and wouldn't really want to hurt somebody. Torn between his programming, his orders, and the concessions he's already made on Amy's behalf, Gamma relents, with the fight resulting in a stalemate. Upon Tails' announcement that the egg carrier is losing altitude and that everyone should abandon ship, Amy is carried by him off to safety, while Gamma escapes on his own with his hover equipment. Amy promises they will meet again, after which Gamma leaves. Floating down to the Mystic Ruins, Gamma finally makes his decision, wiping Eggman from his master registry and actively reprogramming his own directives. Now, Eggman is no longer his commander, but his enemy, and the E-Series are friends that must be rescued. Although this definition of rescuing may be a bit grimmer than first imagined. You see, if you're not already aware, in the Sonic series, most of Eggman's robots are powered at their core by a living battery. Various small animals that can be found amongst Sonic's wildlife are used to power these machines, and though the machines usually only act as cold mechanical constructs performing set duties with the energy these creatures provide them, Gamma begins to border on a question between these two concepts. Is Gamma merely a lifeless, cold machine? How could he be when he's capable of feeling things, capable of being convinced of his wrongdoing? In some way, is Gamma not sentient? Or is his capability for emotion merely the byproduct of an organic battery resting at his core? Are his feelings truly his own, or are they of the animal housed inside of him, being used for his own operational functions? And considering that, what exactly does it mean to rescue one of his own? To put it quite simply, and sadly, Gamma's rescue missions are battles to the death, tracking down and confronting those abandoned, exiled, and scared siblings of his and rending them to pieces, stripping their mechanical shells from their cores and allowing the central organic being, the animal powering them, to escape and live new, free lives once again. It's difficult to imagine a lonelier mission than something like this, and indeed, if you've begun to wonder if this edict applies to Gamma himself, this is depressingly relevant to the narrative at hand, as after defeating all of the siblings he shared a lecture hall with, he regards himself, listing off the remaining robots he has yet to destroy, mentioning Beta, and then himself. It seems Gamma has every intention, regardless of what imposing questions linger about the nature of his own demise, of literally turning this into a suicide mission at the very end. From Windy Valley to Red Mountain to Egg Carrier's hot shelter, Gamma one by one dismantles and destroys Delta, Epsilon, and Zeta, freeing their organic components, surely, but at the same time snuffing out the artificial lives that by all means could have developed a similar individual sentience to his own. Before he's given much time to ponder the reality and weight of these encounters, however, he realizes that Beta has escaped his confines, upgraded, and seething from the way his defeat at Gamma's hands at the beginning of the story has caused him to suffer. Seemingly blaming Gamma for the ordeal due to being incapable of blaming their master, Beta challenges Gamma to one final, terrible fight. And this proves to be the most intense and difficult of the admittedly rather easy prior E-Series boss encounters yet. Beta puts everything he has into this encounter, and though Gamma does eventually seemingly succeed, all cannot go smoothly. In one last act of spite, as he spasms and sparks, Beta uses the last of his dwindling life to inflict a fatal blow to Gamma. He folds to the ground and begins to be torn apart, as Gamma limps desperately away, seemingly conflicted now at the moment of his death with the idea of even dying in the first place. Because really, when you get down to it, what is a life? Are the E-Series simply vessels by which the animals within them were manipulated? Or were they, in their own way, a being with feelings, thoughts, and memories of their own? What are we but the fragile coalescence of memories residing in this easily damaged, organic, and frightened tissue of our brains? Even if we were to be told that we could live forever at the cost of losing our memories, would it even feel as though we could live on in the first place? Is that still us? Or is it just a life, a battery that continues on despite us? These are questions a bit outside the scope of even myself to answer, and much less a Sonic game. But the fact that it's able to pose these questions at all is really damn impressive considering the overall tone of the series. As both robots crumple and both explode, they release the birds within them, completing Gamma's mission. Unfortunately, though the game itself doesn't play it for very long, there's a really beautiful reprisal of Gamma's theme here, which just never fails to choke me up. It's a beautiful capstone to a complicated and beautiful story, and it's only further enhanced by how it ties into the story of one person who set Gamma down his path of self-discovery in the first place, Amy. In Amy's story, she actually manages to defeat her robotic pursuer, and in doing so is able to reunite the bird she's been protecting with its missing family. Its family, who were, in fact, the two birds housed within Gamma and Beta all along. Able, in some small way, to reconcile their differences in the very end, Gamma and Beta return to truly being a family, and can find some sort of fulfillment, even if their lives are fundamentally different now. Though the flames of their lives may have flickered out, their torch has been relit, and whether that flame is the same as it ever was, it still burns just as brightly. Similarly, though Amy was not able to keep her promise of meeting with Gamma again, in a way, she is. And in the final story campaign of the game, where everyone comes together to provide support for Sonic, we can even see a bit of representation for Gamma in the form of his bird tagging along with Amy to Station Square. And that's why Gamma's story means so much to me. Despite it not having much to do with the overarching plot of Sonic Adventure as a whole, it is a stunning exploration of themes and ideas that might not seem really at first to fit in with the Sonic series as a whole, and it provokes emotion and introspection that truly stuns and impacts its player. In a way, I can't think of anything more quintessentially Sonic Adventure than that. And so, despite the fact that its narrative is isolated to the complete on-screen life of one lone robot, Gamma's story still manages to slot in perfectly with the mission statement and emotional ethos of the rest of the game it belongs to. It, like the rest of the game's story, can be said to focus on the idea of cycles of violence and hatred being brought to an end. And that's why I love Gamma's story. That's why I'll always remember it. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the video. I know this was a lot shorter of one, but that's kind of what I want to do with these videos. I want to provide some more buffer content that makes it less of an agonizing wait between the really long videos that I inflict on myself by writing them. The next video, if you're wondering why it's taking so long, is literally like feature film length. It is at least going to be like 2 hours long, and that's why it's taking so long. Yeah, I really shouldn't have done this to myself. I keep saying that I'm not going to do it to myself anymore, and then I do it anyway, so I apologize for that, but I hope the wait is worth it when it's finally said and done. As always, you can support me on Patreon if you want to support the channel. You can also subscribe and like and comment if you want to do those things. That really helps me out too. And anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in again. Peace.